All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the UQR user group for July. My name is Luke. I am sitting very far from the camera. My apologies. I might actually just switch over to my local camera, which might make it a bit easier because I am the only person in the room. I'll just turn off this bigger one. We might have a short one today if no one has any questions, but if you are new to the UQR user group, this is a monthly meetup at the end of every month on the Wednesday. We get together to talk about R. If you've got any particular problems or issues you're having with the programming language in any projects, feel free to bring them to this group. We're happy to sort of try and help each other solve those problems. But what we also like to do is we try and learn a bit each month as well. And so we try and put together a presentation or a bit of a showcase of something with R, just so people can learn. Yeah, so this month, what I've put together is a bit about automating R scripts, which might be useful for someone. So I'll get into that in a little bit, but then I also want to talk a bit about some of the group administration and how communication might be done in the future with the change to Microsoft 365 Teams at the University of Queensland. But what I might do is I might jump straight into my presentation about automating R scripts. Feel free to sort of pop any questions into the chat or unmute and ask me any questions throughout. But what I have here is I have a script. This script is actually reading the New York Times website. And so you can see here in this line, I've got a variable called, I might make this a bit bigger. Oh, wrong way. So the New York Times page is a variable that I'm storing. What it's doing is it's using rvest, which is a package that can scrape websites. It's using rvest and an argument or function called read HTML to go and read the New York Times homepage. Now, what it does is it basically just goes and grabs all the HTML from that web page. What I'm then doing with that variable is I'm then creating another one that's looking for the CSS elements for the indicate hover. And I'm not going to go in too much into rvest because I really want to talk about the automate, but I'll just quickly go over this and how it's working. But it's going through the HTML and it's looking for a particular CSS class that it's then grabbing, and that is what has the headings or the titles of all the various articles on the New York Times website. And so if I very quickly bring up the New York Times homepage, you'll see there when it loads, get past the advert, you'll see these sort of articles and the titles of the articles. And that's all I'm really interested in for this script. And so what my little script is doing is it's going through, it's grabbing all the HTML, and then it's just looking for these titles. And I've determined what those titles are in the CSS by inspecting the code and seeing that it has a class of indicate hover. And so in my R script, it's going through, and I'll just run it line by line here. Oh, let me actually load my packages. And so there's my New York Times list. There are then 49 articles, which is then pulling in all this information. I'm then just stripping out the HTML text from those, which is actually giving me my wording. and then turning that into a data frame, which makes it a bit easier to then see those New York Times article titles. So you can see there, our Team USA won the Olympic women's gymnastics. It's going to be a lot of Olympics at the moment. And then it's going to rename some of these titles to form, sorry, it's not going to rename. It's going to rename the column to have today's date and the time that the actual scrape happened. And then what I'm doing is I'm reading in a CSV and I'm adding that data to that CSV so that I have a data frame that is storing various articles across different times. As you can see there, I've been playing with it on and off, and it's done it for the last few minutes. Now, what I want to do is I want to automate this. I don't want to have to sort of run the script every time I want the front page of the New York Times articles. That's my scenario that I'm trying to automate. I've got a script, it works, and I want to do it on a regular basis. Okay, I'm interested in tracking the news articles that are appearing on the New York Times homepage over a period of time. How do I do that with R? So R has a package known as taskScheduleR. If you are on Windows, there is also a taskSchedule app in Windows itself, but there is a package called taskScheduleR, which basically lets you schedule your scripts so that they can be run on a schedule. Now, it's got a user interface, but there is also the ability to actually code that tool to happen. I prefer the user interface myself, but it's basically becomes an add-in when you install the actual package, where you can then load up the user interface and you can pick your schedule and then have that R script running in the background on that schedule. The beauty of this is you don't need to have R or RStudio running for it to actually keep running your script over your schedule. So I now have my script. It's working. I've checked it. It's writing into the CSV file. So what I want to do now is I want to set up that schedule to run this script automatically for however long I want it to run for. I need to install the package. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. I'm on a Mac, and so this will not work because this is to use the Windows task scheduler. And so I'm using the Mac alternative, which is called cron. It's basically the same thing, but it's just made to work with the Mac and Linux. But it looks exactly the same as the Windows version. I'll put these two links in the chat. So you can see here, I've got the install packages for cron R and the library cron R. So I would use those to actually install the package, which I already have installed. And once it is installed, it will appear in this add-ins area of your RStudio, where I can now see that I can schedule R scripts on Linux and Unix. And what happens is when I hit that button, it then opens up this window where I can start scheduling my script. Has a little warning every single time that by using this, you're giving the app access, etc. So you just need to acknowledge that. And then it's got a simple interface of select your script. So I'm going to go and find where my script is, which is just on my desktop at the moment, my New York Times Daily R script. I can select what date I want it to launch from. I can select the time that I want it to launch from. So if I want this to launch in the next 2 minutes, yep, 14. I can then pick if I want it to just run once, or every minute, or every hour, or every day. So if I say every minute, we can then look over here on the right and I can give it a description. I can give it tags if I would like to. There are also some additional arguments to R script. I'm going to leave all of this completely blank. The job identifier is a unique identifier. You can leave that as it is, or you can rename it to be something a little bit more descriptive. And then your repository path, you can just use that as it is. And that's pretty much it. You can then just hit create job. It will, on my Mac, ask me for access. I will then have that running. It tells me that there is this it starts this job in the background. And now from 12:14, I will see my file on my desktop start updating. So you can see there 12:14. It's just updated. If I open up this CSV file, it's actually been running for a couple of minutes because I hadn't turned off my previous one. But you can see here, there's a new column now for every single minute that this has been running since I had this file. I will admit I cheated a little bit in that I had the script running earlier today just to double check it. And I recreated the file at 12 o'clock. And it's been running every minute since. Now, it's a lot of information as it is, and it's not too useful in this use case necessarily every minute because I'm not sure the New York Times homepage changes every minute, but I am spotting that there is actually some changes every minute, like the headline article of adopting agency investigates why some athletes escape discipline. That's still the #1 article on the page, but the #2 article on the page is changing almost every single minute, which is interesting. Now it's gone to 12:15 and this file hasn't uploaded, but that's updated, but that's because it's a CSV and I have it open. So it's probably updated in the background. Yep, there's 12:15. And again, the article for the second one, sorry, for the first one has not changed between 12:14 and 12:15, but the second article has, which is interesting. And all of these are quite different as well. But this script will now run every minute until I stop it, basically. And I can close. So just to demonstrate, I will then say I'm done with the scheduler. I will close my RStudio. So now I do not have RStudio running at all on my computer. But this file will keep updating every minute because the script is just running on my computer. So I can go and do other work and it will keep scraping the website for me. And that's a really quick overview on how to sort of automate your R scripts, and whether or not that's useful for what you're doing, I'm not sure, but I wanted to sort of showcase the fact that you could do that. Does anyone have any questions about the task scheduler and automating scripts?
I'm guessing this only runs when your computer is turned on and
That is correct,
to
Jocelyn.
the internet. Yeah.
Yeah. And for this script, yes, it would need to be connected to the internet.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you had a script that was, say, using local data and doing something with it, then yeah, it may not need the internet, but you're probably automating it because it's constantly getting new data, or it's trying to do something with new data that it's getting from the internet. But yes, those are two factors to consider. I've used it as well in the past where like daily updates, sometimes data sets will change every day. An example here in the university is room bookings. During the pandemic, we were quite mindful around sort of room bookings and needing to know what rooms were being booked or not booked, etc., and making sure that we're making people aware of the new precautions. And so I was being given a new data set every day from someone else in the university, and I was just running the same script on the new data every day. And I was just like, why am I opening RStudio and manually running this script every day when I know that the data is going to be there by 8 a.m. I can just set up the script to run at 8:30 and it just does it. And so it's even just for that sort of purpose where you're trying to just eliminate some of that manual data processing that you might be doing on a regular basis, it can be useful. Does anyone have any other questions? Well, I might jump over and talk a little bit about the Microsoft 365 changes and some suggestions on what we could be doing around.
You've got another person.
Hello, welcome. How you doing?
Doing good.
Have a seat. You've just missed my presentation about automating scripts. It's all good. Have a seat. Welcome. Are you new to the R user group?
I'm new to UQRUG.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well, welcome. So one of the things that we've done in the past with this regular meetup, so there are people online as well, is we've tried to manage a mailing list. And so to try and tell people about the fact that these meetups happen and various other information about our sort of information, we've been managing a mailing list of people that we send an email every month. That mailing list is now up to about 1,300 people and is starting to become a bit of a hassle to handle manually, especially when people manually tell us they want to unsubscribe. We then have to update our spreadsheet with names on it and make sure that they're removed from it. And we can only send an email to 500 people at a time. So it's becoming a bit difficult to actually manage large mailing lists. Surprise, surprise. But recently, in semester 2 of 2024, I just need to quickly switch this over. Sorry, the computer at the front of the room is trying to turn off on me as usual. But as of semester 2, 2024, students and staff are now in the same, what's known as a tenant on Microsoft 365, which means students now have access to Microsoft Teams and other Microsoft products. If you're not familiar with Microsoft Teams, it's basically Microsoft's version of Slack, or in some ways Discord. Zoom also has a lot of these functionalities, but it's where you can chat with people, but you can also set up communities or teams and have channels for various topics. Now, staff have been using Teams for about 4 years at the university. So there's various teams set up across the university for staff. Now that students have access, it gives us a lot more flexibility in being able to join staff and students, because in this group, we have students, we have researchers, and we have staff. And the only way we've sort of been able to communicate with everyone on the same basis has been email. which is fun. So what we thought we might do is actually start bringing the various communities of practices that the library runs, which we have a few right now, into teams to make it a lot easier for us to connect with each other outside of the monthly meetings. At the moment, it is going to be a bit of a manual process to add people. We are investigating a way so that people can actually discover it and just join the group themselves. But for now, it's going to be a matter of us. And what I plan to do is send an email out to everyone that's on our mailing list, letting them know that we have this team that's available and to let us know if they would like to join so we can add them. But what I wanted to say today was if any of you would like to join this team and be involved in this team and community to help each other throughout the months between the meetups, please let me know in the chats or in person, and I'll add you. But basically, we have a team here on the screen. You can see I've got a team called Library Community of Practices. And at the moment, we have our two groups in here, the R user group, and we've got another user group for Python, which meets on the first Thursday of every month, which happens to be tomorrow. And they'll be talking about this as well, where we can add people and start actually having conversations or communicating about various events that are coming up in Teams itself. It gives us the ability to also have file sharing. So there's files attached to Teams. I can also bring in websites as tabs. And so there's the UQRUG website where it's got the information about the fact that we meet on every Wednesday, where the Zoom link is, how to contact us, what's on next month, which is what we've just talked about, the automating scripts. And so you can bring in those websites as it is and various other sort of websites. I've just brought in GitHub here for some old information there. And so, yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know that this is something that we're moving towards. If you were interested in sort of joining, let me know and I'll happily add you now or today. Otherwise, I will send an email out to everyone who's on our mailing list and we can do it that way. But yeah, just wanted to sort of flag that as something that we're doing from now on. Do anyone have any questions about that? Thanks, Chris. Chris is keen. Yep, cool. People just letting me know that they would like to be added. Good to know. Otherwise, that's everything from me. The other parts of these meetups for anyone who is new is essentially if anyone is having any problems with any R projects or assessments or tasks, the floor is open. Feel free to present to the group and we'll all try and help each other and figure it out. Does anyone have any questions or problems that they're currently facing with R? Or is everyone sort of just here to help, learn, listen? And sorry, what was your name?
I'm Kirti Parthiban.
Okay.
I'm doing my master's in data science right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm in my first semester, as I said.
Yep.
And data science and R, so I just thought I'd drop by.
Have you used R before?
No, I'm more of a Python person. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Right. And they're making you use R in your master's.
yeah, actually one of the courses it's in R, so I just wanted to just drop in and wanted to gauge what it is.
Great. Perfect. Well, I think you'll find R pretty easy to pick up if you're coming from Python. Yeah. I always feel I've gone probably the opposite direction. I always say I started with Excel and then I went to R and now I'm trying to learn Python and I'm finding Excel to R was relatively easy. R to Python is now probably disadvantaging me because the syntax is different and the way you approach things is sometimes different. But yeah, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, this is monthly meetup to just bring problems if you've got problems or learn from each other.
what will you suggest to be a starting, point, like a learning resource that's like starting point?
Good question. So you've come here, which is a good start. But the library has regular training, in particular, getting started with R.
Mhm.
And so I can't think off the top of my head, which is why I'm bringing up the website, when our next one is. But we do have, there you go, R getting started next week on the 5th of August. So that would be my advice, would be to come along to that on the 5th of August if you can. It's being done online via Zoom in the afternoon, but we basically start from scratch.
Oh,
Yeah, like you've never touched R, you've never touched any programming language, here's how to get started. So some of it might be a little bit below where you're at, but you'll quickly sort of pick it up. And then we go from there into what we call dplyr, which is basically the R version of pandas. And then we move into sort of visualizing with ggplot, which is a bit of a mix between matplot and seaborn. And then we go into more stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Oh, thank you, Pia. That's great. Does anyone have any? Yeah, I'll just throw it out again. Otherwise, I'll wrap up for the day. But does anyone have any problems or questions that they have about R at the moment for the group?
Hi.
Hey.
I do. My name's Jess. This is my first time coming.
Welcome.
Thank you. I don't know if what my question will be appropriate, but I guess I have like a specific thing that I'm working on at the moment, and I was interested to know if this was going to be a good avenue to get some help on that. So
Yeah.
I've used R a little bit, but I'm definitely by no means an expert. But what I'm working on at the moment is a project where I'm running multi-level models. So I'm using the LME4 and LMR test package. And I have, I've been able to run my code, and I've gotten to the point where I have results from models that I've run, and I have various interactions. And so where I'm now struggling is how to best plot those interactions. And I'm struggling to find codes that helps me create the plots that I want from the models. So I'm not, and that's kind of the issue that I'm facing at the moment. So I don't know if that's too specific or.
It may not, it may be, but let's backtrack. So you've got your scripts working, you're getting, what'd you say, intersections? Sorry, you've now had and when you say multi-level, you've already lost me, but that's okay. You've got data that you can plot or you want to plot.
Yeah. So I've found interactions. So so two-way interactions and one three-way interaction. So it's basically a project that's looking at the effect of a job candidate's accent. So whether it's native or foreign, and their gender, female or male, and looking at how that affects their hireability. And we've also got a few variables that are looking at ratings of the candidate's competence, their warmth, and that sort of thing. And so some of my interactions are between these variables. So for example, accent and competence, there's a significant interaction between these two variables to predict hiring. And so I know that I've got a significant interaction, but what I'm wanting to do is then create a visualization of that interaction to find out, to basically plot what's happening with that finding. And I'm just struggling to find code that's I can manipulate to get me that.
Do you know what kind of visualization you want? Like a bar plot or a line plot or?
Yeah, like lines. So, if there was one line for a native accented candidate and one line for a foreign accented candidate, then, what are the slopes looking like for the hireability and the competence ratings?
Okay, so a good place that I have talked about before that I think is a good place to start whenever you're sort of trying to visualize data is, I think I talked about this last time. There's this website called Data2Viz that I like to tell people about. I'm not sure if you're familiar or not, but what I like
No.
about it is it basically lets you sort of, it does a bit of a step through of, sorry, I've got Zoom open. I was wondering why I couldn't click that button, where it sort of asks you, okay, so what kind of data have you got? Have you got numeric data, categoric data, both, etc.? And you can sort of then start to step your way through, well, do I just have one variable? Do I have two variables? And it sort of leads you through this journey of then, well, here's the plot that might be best for your data type. And so you then might go, okay, let's talk about a line plot. And what I like about it is it then goes, well, here's some information about a line plot, what they are. Here's some common mistakes to avoid. Here's a gallery for R, for Python, and for JavaScript. And so in the case of R, it'll then take us over to the R graph gallery, which then actually starts to give you different types that you can sort of browse through. And if you sort of go, yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking to do, you can then sort of open that up for even more information, and it starts to give you code that you can then actually try and squeeze your data set into. So that
that's
might
great.
be a good place to start, Jess, is the Data2Viz website, and just go through, okay, yep, or even just getting to this R graph gallery and going, all right, I think it's this, and browsing. Like sometimes I just sit here and I go, all right, I don't need the numeric categoric stuff. I just give me all the line plots. I know I want a line plot, and let me go from there. And I'll just click and explore and just sort of skim the code and go, yeah, that might work. Let me try that.
Yeah, cool. No, that's really helpful. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. This looks like a great resource.
Yeah. Unless anyone else in the group has done this before and has insights they could share with Jess. That's where my mind went to, Jess.
Yeah, no, it's really helpful. And yeah, I knew it was like a very specific question, so I wasn't sure how it was gonna go.
But no, that's exactly what this forum's for, Jess. Like seriously, like bring those sorts of questions, because the thing is we get different people every month, and there's usually someone that's like super experienced sitting in the background that'll then just pop up and go, oh yeah, I've done this before, and just unload like a whole wealth of information. So it's always worth to bring those sorts of questions.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you.
No, all good. The other thing is, yeah, if you don't get any luck with that website and what you're trying to do, reach out to our email address, training@library. I may not be able to answer you, but I do have others in the team that are a little bit more experienced in this stuff, that might.
All right, that would be great. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
One of them is in a class at the moment, and the other one is off today. Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, all good. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to ask the group while we're here? No? All right, I might wrap it up for the day then. Thank you everyone for joining me today. I hope you found the automation piece useful. If you're new to the group, we run this every month, last Wednesday of every month. We try and bring a different presentation. So it can be always worth it just to sort of check in. I'm just going to bring up the website just to demonstrate my point of what I'm about to make. We try and talk about a new topic every sort of month, which can be quite useful to sort of get just random insights into different things. Like we've done that Data2Viz. We've talked about using R on the high performance computers at the university. We've talked about using VisDat to identify data problems. We've talked about web scraping, talked about weird and useless stuff in R. We've talked about machine learning in the past. And so it can be always useful just to pop in for half an hour and just learn something new and then drop off. But thank you. I welcome you all to come back again. Hope you got something out of it. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Where do I give my email for the mailing list?
Did you register for this event?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
but it was kind of like last minute.
that's all good. That's all good. Sorry, what was your name?
Kirti, but.
Which one?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. That's all I needed. I'll add you.
Okay.
All good.
Do you also conduct the Python use?
I don't personally, but my team does, yes.
Oh, okay. So I also have a question for the Python group. I'm actually kind of interested in doing projects which is in like data science applications and sustainability. And I've not quite been able to identify professors who are working in this domain in UQ as of now. And well, I have emailed like by professors, they've not like yet
Gotten back to you, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if there are any opportunities that are available and then just, yeah. Any link.
Yeah, you can ask the group tomorrow, definitely.
Oh, tomorrow.
Yeah, the Python user group is tomorrow.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, because it's the first Thursday of every month and tomorrow is the 1st of August. Yeah. So yeah,
Completely online? Like
it's the same as this.
Oh, okay, hybrid.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's online and hybrid, but yeah, you can also join online. Yeah, it's tomorrow. It's a different, I think it's at 10 o'clock,
Oh, okay.
not necessarily 12 o'clock, but the same place you're registered for this,
Uh-huh.
it's there as well. So yeah, feel free to join it and ask.